Thank you, Bonnie, and thank you all of the presenters as well, and thank you for everybody for coming. Wow, this was actually fantastic. It was really good to see all these things that are going on. Many of you may know that at the beginning of the year when I did my town hall, I kind of put my priorities out front of the whole university, and one of the priorities I put out there was to help the campus work with culture. And even if I hadn't done anything, I feel really good now because a lot of people are doing a lot of things on this campus. And you know, culture is the hardest part of my job. When I first took this job as chancellor, I thought I would be, breaking ground on new buildings. We'd be having new programs and all kinds of fun things. And we do some of that. But a large part of my time over this past 3 years has been dealing with issues that come from culture or lack of culture. You all know that we've been in an environment in this country for the past 3 years. It actually coincided with about the time that I came into this job that has caused us to have a little bit of a negative culture around us, which feeds into what we do on campus. So this was all very timely. So let me just respond to each one of these a little bit. The first one was awesome, the roots of change, and I say that like where I'm from. Roots? What do you guys say here? Roots or roots? Roots, okay, I'll say roots then. Okay, roots of change. They started early. You might have heard, I think it was Brittany that said, maybe it was Elizabeth, I don't know which one said it, that they started in 2016, right when we had that rapid series of events that happened that summer. So they weren't going to wait for the strategic plan and the strategic plan funds. They jumped on this 2 years ago, and then you can tell it's pretty well developed. So that was really exciting. It's difficult to train and teach this. And I think Jane may have said a little bit about this. Now, Jane got into the brain stuff, which is difficult for some of us. I was at a TEDx talk at Portland State over the weekend, and there was a whole talk on this kind of stuff. And what they said is 10% of us are actually psychopaths. That was kind of scary. I was looking around. But all psychopaths don't act on their psychopathic formation of their brain. But those that do don't have much empathy. So you can't do a whole lot around those few psychopaths we have around here. But for all the rest of us, training and practice and thoughtful engagement with these things does work. So thank you to each of you that are working on something like that. Faculty and staff development, this was fantastic too. I was glad to see that these things that we're working on bridge across the entire campus. We heard today about things for students, we heard about things for staff, things for faculty, and things even for the administration. So that was really good. And I like the comment, and who said it, that it's not a sprint, it's more like a marathon. Was that you? Was that you? Yeah. And I'm glad, because if we have to sprint the way we've been sprinting this past 3 years, it's going to be difficult for us to keep up. So we're not going to fix all of this year or even next year, but we have to be continually going after these things. And another thing I really like by hearing all of these is many of them are beginning to get institutionalized. They've been funded by a SIF fund, or we've put them into a formal position like Deanne's on campus. The critical conversations about college. Ricky, thank you for stepping out into some scary space there. I seldom ever get into those conversations because I know they are going to lead somewhere, usually to something negative, because people will take what you say the wrong way sometimes. You mean very well. So thank you for moving forward bravely to do that. And it looks like it's generated extra activities and good things. And I know you're doing a good job out there. So thank you for doing that. The First Gen Fellows also didn't wait. The First Gen Fellows has been around since before we actually launched the strategic planning process for the SIF process. That initiative came from our students out of a group that we put in place before we finished the strategic plan, because we knew we couldn't wait till the strategic plan got finished and then implemented to serve some of our First Gen Fellows. And one of the things I like about that too, as you can tell from Louise's hat, it's not just the First Gen Fellows group. That group in turn is integrated with all kinds of other organizations. Many of them work on our campus in different offices and student enrollment services. She's got a hat on that says ASUWT. I know some of our First Gen Fellows. I went to a meeting of BSU, MSA, and several other student groups, but everybody in the room was part of First Gen Fellows, no matter which other organization. So that's great. And I like that swipe right, kind of like speed dating thing. That's a really good idea. The courageous conversations, again, I already talked a little bit about this, and I think the important thing, everything that Jane said was important, but one of the things that I really liked is you got to know what to do, but also what not to do. And a lot of things, in fact, some of the things I do are a result of not knowing what not to do. You know, we live in a different culture, a different time, so some of the things that we may have been able to do in a past life, you can't do now with today's environment. So this is really good. I am pleased. I look forward to more work, and I look forward to more of these lightning talks. This is a really good way to us very quickly learn a lot about campus. So now do they have time for dialogue? Thank you.
Thank you. Let's get a round of applause for